Nobody wants to say anything.
Hello.
Can you do the guys? Oh, I can't. Can you? No. I don't know how else to get your attention, so I'm just gonna start talking. Guys.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to my meeting of ESW. I'm Jared, and I'm your new president.
It's week 13. We have some wacky announcements. WAC stands for Waste Awareness Campaign. And Chris is going to talk to you about things that you don't know about RIT, or you probably don't know about RIT. So tomorrow's the Waste Awareness Campaign. It's a one-day thing. We need your help. We need more volunteers. Please sign up. We also need a Richie. Any takers? We have the skin. If you want to go into
Jared.
Yeah. Fun, dude. You can show up as Richie. You don't have to do it all day.
Chris, you should do it.
Katie maybe wants to be Richie. Katie wants to be Richie. Everyone else wants to be
I've done it before. Not this. I don't know why I did.
Think
That's
about
not Richie, that's Rory.
Rory.
Factory.
So
Even if you don't want to be Richie, we need volunteers to help sort through our waste. That'd be cool.
the waste awareness campaign is we're gonna, for those of you who don't know, we're just gonna be piling up all the trash on campus collected today, tomorrow, in the middle of campus, so everybody can look at it. Yay! But we do. That's why we need more volunteers, because it's a pretty big undertaking led by Kira, and we want to make it as successful as possible. So.
Without further ado.
Okay. No, first of all, I want to make sure we have a Richie, so we need somebody. I'm not going to proceed until we get him.
Why don't you be Richie? Does Richie have to get some stuff?
Why not?
I just can't. He's got other responsibilities.
Yeah, I have to work on the data acquisition.
Can we just stuff Richie with newspapers and put him on the garbage pile?
So
Like
that-
that originally intended?
That was proposed,
Actually,
and we shot it down at the committee.
Wouldn't you have to wash him though?
I feel like he's already dirty enough.
We're going through the trouble of borrowing Richie's skin. The least we could do
Is spill
is
it?
spill it.
I can do like 2 hours.
Oh,
That's good enough.
Yeah,
Thank you, Katie. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to talk about, and I do have 40 slides worth of presentation. So if we don't get it all very well today, I'm gonna, I don't know,
Did you make
Record
it in
it.
Excel?
and not all of it. Probably gonna record it and upload it later if we don't get through all of it, but hopefully we will. Start out with a little bit of history. So Rochester used to be just a swamp. Most of you probably already know that. It was Seneca land from about 1550 to 1797. The Iroquois sided with the British, so they lost that land after the war. Rochester was founded in about 1811, and it was a boom town by 1823. So that's sort of the history of Rochester. The history of campus is different. RIT was founded in downtown, and it had to be moved after the inner loop was constructed.
Built through campus.
It was, yes. They had to move the campus because otherwise it would have been destroyed. So this campus was mostly farmland by the early 1900s. About the same time the Red Barn was constructed. So the suburban, there were a few suburban houses around the perimeter by the 1960s when it was relocated here. So here's a map that I found on the internet. So RIT has changed a lot over the course of its history. You can see by the map, there's a lot of things that are missing. And this was only 30 years ago. So the older buildings, the SAU, Gym, Eastman, Gannett, Beeson, Watson, and Gosnell, along with the dorms, River Knoll, Perkins, and Colony Manor. Everything else happened after that. So the most important event in campus history, of course, is the founding of this club, which happened in 2003, same year that the Golisano Institute for Computing was built. Park Point and Andrews Memorial Drive, the outer loop around campus, were both built in 2008, which was, remarkably recent. Global Village was built in 2010, and then the Golisano Institute for Sustainability, which is still impossible for me to say, was built in 2013, which happens to also be the time we got our greatest award.
Like number one greatest or on just like the list?
I'm pretty sure we're number one, so you know, we're doing it. We're doing
Who said
it. All right, so there's a couple of different properties that RIT owns around Rochester. Notably, the main campus, of course, over there on the left. There's a few random inaccessible properties that RIT owns for some reason to the north of campus. You literally can't get to some of them without crossing through private property, and there's nothing there. So that's cool, I guess. There's well, that's true. I haven't been. Province is also owned by RIT, including the boathouse down along the Genesee River, south of campus, and the Racquet Club and the Lifelong Learning Institute. RIT Inn is way down there along I-90. There's RIT Venture Creations, which is just a building in a parking lot next to campus. And the President's House, which is all the way over here on the right, kind of near Menton Ponds. That's where Munson lives.
Now we know.
Yep, now we all know. So you may be asking yourself, Chris, why are you qualified to talk about RIT's campus?
Hey, Chris, why are you qualified to talk about RIT's campus?
Jared, I am so glad you asked. So, behold, my magnum opus. Thank you.
Red color, it's brilliant.
Yes, it's wonderful. So, this is the product of my 5 years here at RIT. I created this habitat map of campus that's hiking over 1,000 acres of land so that you don't have to. So, I want to talk about some of the things that I found in the woods today. All right, without further ado. In the first place, most of you have probably already been at some point. These are the main trails around campus. They're right in the middle, between dorms and the community garden. And there's actually a lot to talk about here, because that's a place where most of us go. First of all, it's gorgeous in the fall. Second of all, in spring, it's the best place on campus to find wildflowers, just in case you. And in the summer, there's some of the largest insects in North America you can find there, ants and arachnids. So over there on the left, there's a giant swallowtail, which is the largest butterfly in North America. And this one's not the largest in North America, but it's the largest in New York. And there's me. I'm also in the woods in the summer. Hidden Meadow, which is this area over here, which you can just barely see if you're standing on top of the hill over here. That is a pretty interesting place. Very, very difficult to get to. You have to sort of scale down like a ledge, but it's there. Community garden. Hopefully you're all familiar with that. Very cool place. I found the most stuff there, but that's also just because I spend the most time there. A lot of very cute snakes, if you're into snakes. Okay, so next up we have Park Point, and what I'm calling the Witch's Haunt because it's definitely haunted. Park Point is pretty much homogeneous swamp, except for this little piece up here, which they're trying to restore habitat to a different type than it was originally, but whatever. There's some pretty interesting stuff back there, including this, and also this. I don't know what's going on back there. It's weird. Definitely do not go there in early fall or late spring. It's just solid mosquitoes, but other times it's interesting. Okay, so speaking of Park Point, Park Point was built directly on a swamp. Can anybody here, or does anybody here know some reasons why it's maybe not a good idea to build on a swamp?
It's hard to get foundation in.
Colin, Preston.
Yeah, this foundation just decided some sinks and stuff.
Yep, that's a very good point. Anybody else? Olivia.
Things live in the swamp.
Yes, the
Now
swamp is
they
very,
can't.
the swamp is very important habitat.
Get out, weeds.
Shrek.
Anybody else? Got any ideas? Like,
Is there a rule against building on swamps, or is something like you have to replenish whatever wetlands or anything that you take away?
yes, that's going to be very important here in a second. So there's a couple of other reasons, especially building on wetlands means there's less room for the water to go when it floods, so flooding can be much worse. Otherwise, you guys got the main things there, which is very good. So when they went to build Park Point, they had to go through the New York Department of Environmental, what is it? NJDEC. I should know that.
Environmental conservation.
I don't think it's conservation.
It's DEC.
DEC. Maybe it is. Sorry. Okay.
You're good.
Anyway, the NYDEC said, you can't do this. This is a bad idea for many reasons. But RIT really wanted to build something there, so they came to a compromise. They could destroy the wetland habitat up here, but they had to move it somewhere else. So you saw on the slide before that the Andrews Memorial Drive, the Ring Road, and Park Point were built in the same year. That is not a coincidence. Andrews Memorial Drive was built in part so that water coming from this direction would get held up around here. It's acting like a giant like wall almost. And that's actually what created Turtle Ponds over here and flooded a lot of these woods. And you can see here that this used to be farmland. It is no longer farmland, it is flooded. So it's questionable whether or not it was a good decision, but that's why campus looks the way it does, which is interesting. Yep, there's arrows showing the direction that water is going, and it's not up there anymore. Okay, so segueing into Turtle Ponds and Red Creek. Red Creek is the stream that runs all the way through campus. Like I said, Turtle Ponds are relatively new. You can actually find parts of the forest that have just been flooded. They're still there. The trees are still there. They're not alive anymore. And there's also a boardwalk somebody made over here, which is kind of neat. The reason I call it Turtle Ponds is because there are so many turtles. Here is a picture of a log, and there's like, I don't know, 13 turtles on it. It's pretty cool. If you get a chance, definitely head over there at some point.
Oh boy.
The Widowmaker tree.
Yeah, I'll get to that in a minute. So the next place I want to talk about is someplace I like to call Bear Swamp, because it looks like Great Bear habitat.
It looks like a bear, actually.
Now please explain that to me.
So that's the eye,
Yeah.
and that's the
Oh
mouth.
yeah, I totally meant that. That's why I call it Bear Swamp, because it looks like a bear. Thanks, Lily.
You're welcome.
The little pond is its eyes. So like the little bit of light green is the nose, the pond is the eye, like the road is the
Oh, I see it.
I hope none of you were
Okay,
Wait, I know.
that wasn't a question. The first one wasn't a question, but okay.
Does this have anything to do with that time we had a bear on campus?
I'm glad you mentioned that. Here's a news article from a few years ago. There was a bear on campus. This did not happen in Bear Swamp. I just wanted to call it Bear Swamp because it looks like a bear habitat, and apparently also looks like a bear. Thank you, everybody. That's the tree that I'm calling Widowmaker tree because it is ready to go. It's a huge tree and it's completely hollow. So that's cool. You can stand inside of it. I didn't because I'm not that brave. There's also an actual bog in the swamp there. Carson and I, well, Carson found out first after I told her all about that there's such a great bog here, and then she went and there was nothing. Apparently it dries up in the summer and the fall. But there are carnivorous plants there. They're called bladderworts. And that's the flower, and then those are
The bladders.
the underneath parts.
It's literally what they're called.
Yeah.
What are they called?
Those are the bladders.
Each of those little capsules on it. When they detect a tiny crustacean nearby, they expand and pull the prey in, and then they eat them. And they're all over the place back there. Next, farmland. RIT property has a lot of farmland on it, and RIT rents it out to local farmers so that they can use it for cover year. And most of the time it's been hay, but I think last year they did soybean. There's a lot of things scattered around the farmland. Square wood is completely impenetrable, and it's not worth going to. But there's also drone netting over here, because we're so close to the airport, they don't let us fly drones into campus, so you can do it there instead. There's two megawatt solar arrays. I'll get to those things in a second. And the Tree of Life's up here, and the mountains are here. That's a picture of the farmland. This is a really bad picture of the mountains from Google Earth. I, for some reason, have not gotten a picture of them after all my time being here. But it's these huge earthworks that were created when they had to move all of the soil from RIT's campus when they built it. They had to put it somewhere, so they put it here. And it's just a big thing that you can run around on. Yeah, you might say it was a mountain. Yeah, Sarah.
Can you put that, I'm just seeing like the little piles of dirt.
So-
I'm thinking that's not it.
This is actually standing on top of it, so it's not like the best view.
Oh, so those are
it's-
actually big ones.
It's like, the whole thing is like rimmed with like maybe 20-foot high thing. I feel like they just like gave the construction workers like, here's all this dirt, do whatever you want with it, and they just built this, this huge facility thing. And there's this huge mountain in the middle. Looks like a mountain. This photo does not do it justice. So here's one of the solar fields. The other one was actually only built last year, which made me very frustrated because then I had to go back in and update the map. But it is a good thing. And then the drone net is sort of behind it. You can't really see it in this picture, but it's back there. This is the Tree of Life. It is massive. That's a me-sized box for scale. It's in the middle of one of the farm fields, which means it's probably 100 to 150 years old, which is pretty cool. It's a bur oak, I think. So while I was doing research for the map a year and a half ago, I was sort of just looking at different areas around RIT just in Google Maps. And I noticed that from a certain angle, if you zoom way in, it looks like there's just a tiny house with solar panels just over by Turtle Ponds. And I had no idea what this is. I asked around, nobody had any idea what it was. I went there and it wasn't there.
Where did you go?
What?
Where did you go?
So, good question. It turns out that it is the RIT Avian Research Station, and I wasn't there because they moved it to the other side of Turtle Ponds, sort of over by these solar panel arrays. It's a pretty cool building. It has a solar panel on it. It's run with renewables, and that's where the class goes to study birds. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
I figured it out. Next thing, the Great Garden Patch. I don't have a good photo of this for reasons that will become apparent. So RIT's policy basically means that whenever, all the gardens around campus, besides the community garden, they just dig out the plants when they're done with them, and then they plant in new plants in the spring. And all of the extra pieces of plants end up in this huge pile that the Avian Research Station is actually on top of.
The new, where it is now. Is that
Right, where it is now, so hang on. So it's over here. It's this big mound that's in the swamp. So if someone wants to figure out a better way to manage the gardens, like maybe perennial native plants. That would be nice.
Native?
But that exists. Next thing, the observatory, and the surrounding area. The observatory is a pretty small observatory as observatories go, but it's a pretty big telescope as far as telescopes I've seen go. So it's pretty neat. The woods around there are very kind of diverse. There's one place that it's just this invasive goatweed, which is terrible, but it looks really cool when you're in it. So that's the thing. Next thing, Bailey Woods. So Bailey Woods has some pretty cool things in it. There's this tunnel of trees that is fun to go be in. There's also this very large boulder, which is actually a glacial incidental. So when we had Mile High glaciers in Rochester, this was left there when they melted. Yeah.
Are these all your names? Like, so.
Yeah,
Bear
I named
Swamp,
most of these.
Bailey Woods, that's your name too?
Yeah. But they're the official names now because I'm presenting them. Over here are the Southwest Wetlands, which are very small and mostly nondescript, except there is a threatened dragonfly that I was able to find there, which is really cool. Yeah, it does. Here's also a regular dragonfly for some. Yeah, so RIT has threatened biota in it, which is really cool. Next thing is Perkins Woods. I bet y'all didn't know there was an underground bike arena there, except for the people I've told. So these hills were created when the land was bulldozed to build Perkins, long time ago, and then somebody decided to shape them into moguls. So now there's a big dirt bike track through there. You can sort of see it on the map there. The Boneyard.
Woo!
That's basically where FMS keeps all of their stuff. And it's also where our shed is. And a bunch of dumpsters.
Casual.
Yeah, casual. East River Woods and East River Marsh. So this is where we had the campus cleanup project last semester. We barely made a dent in the amount of trash that is over there. I don't know if this is true or not, but it seems possible that this area here was at one point a literal landfill. And after they sealed it, they just kept putting more stuff there because it seemed right. There's also a place called Kokopelli Pond, which I did not name. It's because it kind of looks like that, which is Native American. There's the car, and there's Olivier in the car. We were able to take half of it out of the woods, but as you can see here, that's our trail. It's segmented because the windstorm in February that we had basically completely destroyed our trail. Unfortunately, a whole bunch of big trees are down over it. So I hope at some point somebody picks up the mantle and gets the rest of the car out there, but it's basically going to be starting over. So that's that. Jefferson Woods. So we've got the, that's where the Wilderness Survival course takes place. They have a little campsite there with a big sign that says, "Do not use this campsite unless you are part of the Wilderness Survival course." Also some pretty neat bugs. Genesee River. It's pretty neat, but completely inaccessible from your RIT's campus. I have injured myself trying to get to it from RIT's campus. The Loop. It's named after this guy of Ocean Loam fame. So he died in 1908, and the Loop is about 6 acres. The whole entrance is nearly 20 acres. It could be wetland habitat, but it's not, so that's great. We also have a bunch of natural gas right-of-ways on campus. So that's all those sort of lines that are sort of drawn across. You can see when you stand out there, there's just woods, and then not woods. That's probably because there's natural gas under there. And then, I don't know if you can see this, but there's no way for me to zoom in. But this is a map of all of the forts, the deer stands, and the campsites that are on campus.
Which one's which?
The red ones are the campsites, the blue ones are the deer stands, and the forts are in orange. This one is especially concerning because it's a campsite that's like on like pine needles. The whole area is a pine forest up there, like in that little part of the swamp. So if a forest fire starts at RIT, we'll know why. Otherwise, yeah, RIT students sort of get around. The deer stands are especially fun. If you don't know what a deer stand is, it's a ladder up to a tree. So you can just you can just climb them and sit on them, and it's fun. It's a great time. Except for that one is just literally a ladder, but like a wooden ladder that was put there like 30 years ago. You probably shouldn't climb that one, even though I did. Yeah, so that's. If you do go out and explore campus, I will say be careful. There's a lot of stuff out there that is dangerous, especially at certain times of the year. Mosquitoes can be really, really bad. We don't have any like super terrible diseases that are transmitted from mosquitoes around here, but it's not pleasant to be in a swamp with them. Also, this is a picture of poison ivy. For those of you who didn't grow up around here, poison ivy is a plant that if you touch it, you'll end up with a blistering rash in a week's time. So, that's that. Otherwise, please go forth and explore. The campus is a wonderful place, and I hope you guys are able to appreciate it. Does anybody have any questions? Because I know I went over that pretty fast. I'm actually very proud of how fast I was able to go over that. So, yeah, person.
How do you access the boardwalk that goes on the
Good question.
very specific question? I know.
No, that's a good question.
That's good. I think so.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going back to the beginning. Okay. So the boardwalk's right here. It sort of loops around right here. It's sort of, the entrance of the pass is sort of equidistant between two parking lots. There's like 2 parking spaces right here that nobody ever uses. And then there's also the parking lot at the observatory, and nobody ever cares if you park there. So, you decided those. Or you could just walk from here. I mean, you can. Matt, you had your hand up.
How did you make the map?
I made the map in a program called Clip Studio Paint. So this is just a whole bunch of different layers of different colored things. Lane.
Who do you know who to get in contact with if you have questions, like about the maybe I can't remember the strategy solar panel.
Yes.
Yeah, like how did you know? Who did you ask?
So there's a big sign on it that says this is the RIT Research Station.
When you went there, it wasn't there, and you said you were asking around. Like how did you figure out?
Well, eventually I walked there to where it is now, and I saw it there. But after that, I looked it up online, and I got in touch with Dr. Susan Smith-Pagano, who runs it now, and she does the bird programs, and she helped with the BioBlast back in the fall. So, yeah.
What were your top 3 favorite places?
3 favorite places.
Or favorite place?
Oh, I top something.
I think it depends on the time of year, because that makes a big difference. I really like the community garden and the groves. Like, it's just really accessible, and there's a lot of stuff that you can do there.
Can you point at the groups again?
Yeah, the groves is like this area. Otherwise, like, the university or the observatory was down here. Like it's really, really peaceful there. But it's hard to get to. It's like an hour's hike from anywhere. Also, this little tiny meadow up here is like perfect for reading because nobody will ever find you there. But
How many times did you get poison ivy?
many times. At one point, somehow I got it on the bottom of my feet. I don't go outside without shoes on. I have no idea how that happens. I think I just have an overactive immune system, but like it was very bad.
Where can you find this map?
This map,
Right here.
currently nowhere, but I'm going to upload it to
On our
the,
website?
yeah, it's the old version now. I'm gonna put a new version of this up, to the resources page on our website, so that way you guys can always have access to it.
So is this for like a class, or you just do this because you kind of felt like making that feel?
No, I just kind of feel like doing things sometimes. So, no, I don't do great in class, but I do great when I'm not in class. Great.
Do you plan on proposing future projects for like campus cleanup or campus projects that like, we discovered through this?
Absolutely, yes. So I'm actually helping rewrite them right now. There's 2 places on campus that have like the most dense trash locations. One of them is, like I said, up there in East River Wood, sort of in right there. The other one is down here. You know, back in the 80s, people just put trash places, and
Unlike now.
yeah, that never happens now.
Especially not tomorrow.
All this trash, put it over here.
Yeah, actually, that's where all the trash from tomorrow's gonna end up.
Yeah.
No. Great.
Can I challenge everyone to try to find mistakes on this, because I think I found them.
Yes, absolutely. I would love to not hear about it, but I would love for you guys to try to do that. Kevin.
Was any of those areas restricted and how to do that?
So well, first I didn't ask permission, just went. But then after, I was talking to John Moore, who runs a segment of FMS, and he confirmed that students are welcome to go anywhere on campus. There's like a fenced off area, like over here, that's like where some of the electrical transmission happens. You shouldn't go in there. But pretty much anywhere else on campus, you're free to go to, based on what I've heard. Bree, what was the thing that you found that was wrong?
So, from my understanding, this blob is the red barn.
Yeah.
And this blob is the shed.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not there anymore.
Ah, no, I have to redo the whole thing.
There's a porta potty there, but that's what.
Well, that's the porta potty.
It's a big porta potty.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, just.
Did you create an interactive app which people can, you know?
I'm not gonna do that, but you can do it if you want. I give you all the files that I used to create this. And that would be great.
Which solar panel arrays?
This is the new solar array, and I'm not 100% sure that that's like completely accurate. But I'm not sure. They put it in the place that they were doing habitat restoration for the PowerPoint thing. So like,
Back in the day when this habitat was originally solar panels. Let's go.
I didn't realize that this was all RIT.
yeah, not a lot of people know that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
There's a
I double
lot.
checked like the land records. I did a lot of research into this.
How long did you work on it for?
This has been a project for, well, I guess I worked on it for like 3 months, like very intensely. But I've been sort of adding to it since.
Did you know that Rochester has one of the, like, the area has some of the first like aerial footage? And I can get it to you if you ever want to see it.
Yeah, for sure.
But you can see like that there's a lot of footage from like the 50s and 30s, 40s of like Rochester, and you can see like this land of grassland. It's really cool.
Yeah, that'd be really cool, because I
I'm
don't know that
thinking-
part of it.
I don't remember when, but I found out that Google Earth has like a time option,
Yeah.
and that's really cool.
By the time I started this project, Google Earth stopped being in the public domain, so like, yeah. Or it's like, I don't know, I couldn't get access to it, I don't know why. Maybe it's just me, I don't know. They figured out I was using it too much.
Restricted to you.
They didn't want you to cheat.
Right. Great.
Why'd you make the sports fields gray?
I was running out of colors. What color would you have made them?
I would have combined sports fields with lawn nets and landscaping. I'm here to criticize you.
There's not too many sports fields at RIT, so.
That's
What about Colony? Is there, like, I think there's a swamp back behind Colony. I don't know if that's actually RET.
There
I don't know,
is,
but-
so, it isn't owned by RIT, and actually, Colony, I'm not sure whether it's owned by RIT right now, like it used to be,
Huh.
but they're
Who am I
they're
comparing
like-
to?
they're like completely redoing the buildings there.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I just hear you.
yeah. What? I haven't been to Munson. I felt weird about it, because like I wanna go there and map it, but like I don't wanna just show up.
Just
You should show us
Just
the
go
map.
and be like, just go and eat items on campus.
During the fireside chat.
Listen, I don't wanna go there alone, but I think all of us should.
Much less creepy.
Every protest.
sustainability like stuff there.
Yes, I do not think we should tell them first.
We should plant a garden in his house.
I bet there already is
Which
We don't
kind of
know.
sounds
We don't
stupid.
know.
How would we know?
Alright, out of everybody here, who has been to places outside of like around here? And like academic side of the Okay, Carson and Matt, where have you been? Well, Carson, where have you been?
I've been to a lot of places in the Hayfield area, just in there, and then also in the field behind Perkins.
Here?
Yeah, sorry, not field, forest behind Perkins, and actually in the woods area.
Oh, cool. Yep. Isn't it weird back there?
It is. I went at night too.
Oh, that's worse.
Yeah, it was really creepy.
I've gone like the lower.
Okay.
And then a little bit the last
That area is really hard to get through. Wait, where have you been?
I have, well, also a question for the people who don't know here, because we run in the trails, like Gracie Woods, which I think is just, I don't know how far we run though.
So we run to, because at one point it goes right to the.
We run, because we run along the
You go right
campus.
here.
Yeah. Is that the loop we did? Is that the shape of the loop?
Yeah.
that we did?
Yeah, so you go in here,
Uh-huh.
or sorry, you go in here, and then go. Yeah. Actually, you're running all of them.
Huh. Okay. How did you map this? Like,
So, I gotta show you my sketchbook.
oh boy.
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, this is the wrong sketchbook. So I literally went through like one step at a time, and I'm like, okay, there's a turn here. Okay, there's a turn here.
Oh my gosh.
But you
It was a good time.
So cool.
GPS map. Yeah. That's really good.
I did like, I like scaled down like an overview from Google Maps like on this, so that way I can get like the basic layout.
Yeah.
Yeah, the trails are difficult.
Wow. Yeah.
How do you map out like the different habitat areas?
So I'm not actually trained in like habitat delineation, so I was basing it on my gut feelings for most of this. So in my definitions, like swamps are like if you go in the spring and there's a foot of water on the ground and it's like otherwise trees, then it's a swamp. If you can't get through it without getting scraped up, then it's a thicket. If it's dry land in the spring, but a lot of trees, it's probably a forest. And then marsh is like where you see all the cattails and stuff. And then meadow would be like, I don't know, dry, flat, lots of wildflowers and stuff. Yeah. And then water is water. So
So what are buildings?
what? They're brick.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay. I mean, it's yeah. I mean, you guys are the public, right? Yeah. If you can think of a way to do that, I'm open to it. Like, I'm not trying to keep this hidden. It's here. Use it.
It's a little late.
Like just put it away.
What?
It's a little late, but I feel like it could be like.
I mean, we could just print them out. I don't know. If you want to, any of you guys can use this for whatever you want to use it for. It's going to be here. Yeah. Thank you so much for letting me talk about this. It's been a lot of fun. Okay, that's all we have for this meeting. We're at about 7:50 right now.